Welcome to another episode of The Modern Moron and the Marriage Encounter Debrief. Without going into too much detail, we find out generally what the structure was of the Senator's marriage encounter retreat and just a little bit about what the process was like, as always, from the perspective of a moron. And by the way, this moron is a two-time loser in the marriage game. Before we get to the marriage retreat stuff, there's a quick blip about Mexico's President Obrador. We, of course, mispronounce his name, claiming that he wants the $14 billion that El Chapo made selling drugs in our country, the United States. Also, no surprise here, the senator was an hour late again for our appointed recording session. When he did log on to the session, I simply remained quiet, so he thought I was late to the session, and he proceeds to entertain himself by calling me a pussy, even though I was there the whole time.
Pussy.
And you know what? I did it
Pussy.
just for you.
Pussy.
Here it comes. Enjoy, and thank you for listening to The Modern Moron.
Oh, where are you at? It's 8:30. Me. Pussy, pussy, pussy. A whining pussy. How come you're not there? You said you were going to be there, and you're not there. Oh, I'm so mad. Why don't you tell me these things? Good, you're not there. You little whining bitch. Tell me when you're ready. I'm fucking logging off.
How long did you want to go on like that for?
Oh, you were there the whole time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And recording, by the way.
At 8:30. At 8:30.
What? Do you talk this way to your clients?
First
you know what? You know what? No, first of all, I don't want to discuss this. We're beating a dead horse with this. Nobody wants to hear it. Get out whatever you want to get out, and I will cut it out. Go ahead.
Okay.
Please.
You know my wife and I are doing our follow-up sessions, and we're dialoguing to improve my marriage. I'd like to stay married, okay? Unlike some of my other friends.
Would you?
I'm not including you in this.
Would you like to stay married?
That are unhappily married or they're divorced already.
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to improve my marriage. And when we're dialoguing, the last thing, and I don't have my phone when I'm dialoguing, bro, okay? Because that's the rules. Put the phone away. It's just you and me talking, communicating, improving, actually listening and talking. Unlike you and me. Oh, so yes, it was 7:30. Yes, I should have texted you. No, I didn't, because I was dialoguing with my wife.
When did you start? Two things. When did you start
dialoguing? Dissecting it.
When did you start dialoguing with her? What time?
Oh, good God.
And when did you start using the word dialoguing?
I use big words.
Because I've never heard you use that word before.
That's what it's fucking called. That's what they called it at the marriage retreat. Dialoguing.
Okay, dialoguing. When did you start dialoguing with your wife?
7 days ago.
What time? What time? No, what time tonight did you start dialoguing
We've
with
been
her?
married 20 plus years. I started about a week ago.
When tonight did you start dialoguing with her?
About 7:20 when she got back.
So 10 minutes
Oh God.
before you should have just picked it up, said, "Hey, I gotta do the big D with my wife. Gotta do the big dialogue. I'll probably take an hour." I mean, if this was business, which
Okay.
it's kind of a business, you would not do this.
The next fucking time you go, what time do you want to record? You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, okay, let's do it between 6 and 11. That's what I'm going to say. 6 and 11 p.m.
No, that's not going to cut it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll just find somebody else. Which, by
Are
the
you
way,
breaking up with me?
I guess so.
Oh.
So a couple of things to let you know about.
Hey, you don't break up with me. I break up with you.
Okay, break up with me. What would you like to talk about? Because we're the meat of this episode is going to be talking about the big D, the big dialoguing you've been doing with your wife on the big R retreat.
Well, let's start with that.
You want to start with
the
that?
retreat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
great.
fine.
So
Yeah,
how did it go?
I actually had I actually had on number one list, I wanted to talk about El Chapo and his conviction, but no, we'll talk about my marriage.
You can talk about El Chapo if you want. He's going to prison. You went to prison on your retreat. I didn't mean.
But apparently I'm getting out. He isn't. So
wasn't he complaining? Didn't he have the nerve to complain about the prisons? How dare you?
The president of Mexico is demanding that the United States return the $14 billion, yes, that's $14 billion that they seized from El Chapo because they think that's their money. So he lives in Mexico. He sends cocaine to the United States. They make money on the cocaine. It goes back to him. We capture him. We take the money back. And now Mexico wants it. They want their money back. I'm not kidding. The seized
money from
the seized
drug that
money.
he sold.
They think that belongs
that he sold.
Yes,
in America. That's pretty good. That's wow.
The nerve.
Now, where did you read this? What was your news source for this?
Our local newspaper.
But I mean, wasn't there like Associated Press or something a little more? Like, what does it say at the top of the story?
Sorry.
Is it AP?
Go slow with me, bro. Come on.
That's all right. That's all right.
So this is from the AP. Mexico's president says he will use legal channels to try to get the fortune of convicted drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman returned to Mexico. I think that everything that is confiscated has to do with Mexico must be returned to Mexico, Lopez Obrador said. U.S. officials have estimated Guzman's fortune at $14 billion, and a judge ordered Guzman to pay $12.6 billion as part of his U.S. life sentence. This is supposedly money his drug trafficking organization made by distributing drugs in the U.S. That's hilarious, bro. That is freaking the fact that Lopez
it is pretty hilarious.
Has asked for it, President Lopez.
Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador.
Yes. Very good.
The S is probably silent. Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador.
He wants his $14 billion back, oh man. That's unbelievable. I just love that. He's got some balls right there.
Well, maybe he's just sort of fighting fire with fire. I mean, doesn't that sound like something that Trump would say?
Absolutely.
If it was the other way around.
Absolutely.
Your organization's terrible.
And you may be right. He's taking it out of the playbook of
take it right out of Donnie's playbook.
The Donald.
All right. That's a great lead-off story.
I was so excited about talking about that. I mean, that was pretty amazing. But anyway.
So how was the retreat?
So it was,
and I don't want you to. I don't want you to have to, reveal personal things.
No,
but you can tell us like what were some of the assignments. How was your day structured?
Yeah.
How did it go? You can talk about that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was very personal. Yeah. God, man, I just butcher the language.
Well, a marriage retreat was very personal. Okay, I'm going to take off my sarcasm hat and set it over here. Okay, very good. Okay, so you get there, you check in on a Friday evening. About 4 o'clock?
We got there. Yeah, so I can't reveal a whole lot, but the structure of it was extremely rigid. Where we went, everything was planned out. There was very, very little downtime. In fact, I can almost say there was zero downtime. I mean, it was. We started at 7-ish.
You checked in at 4 o'clock.
No, later than that. We went for dinner first because they didn't serve dinner the first night. So we checked in at 7. And that night it started. We didn't go to bed until about 10:30. And then we were up at 7:15. And the following day we went from 7:15 until 10:30 on Saturday night.
Did you sleep in the same room? Did you sleep together, or were you in separate rooms?
Same room, same bed.
Did they say during this retreat you should abstain from sexual activity or anything like that? Or why the big pregnant pause? No pun intended.
No, they didn't mention anything like that. It wasn't like that. Wasn't talked about. Like, oh yeah, you can't.
Nothing like that.
No physical contact. No.
Okay. Did any of that happen while you were on your retreat? Because I figured
you said this was not going to be personal.
Well, come on. Husband goes on a retreat. Come on. You're going to get a little something within my prediction. I had 2 predictions for this retreat. One was that some meditation would be involved, and 2, that you would get a little action within 72 hours of the end of the retreat.
That's too personal.
What? Okay. All right, tough guy. Oh, what happened the first evening? How did they get it rolling?
Well, we sat down, and again, I don't want to go in all seriousness. I don't want to go too much into because there was a lot of private stuff going on. Kind of like I've never been to AA. I don't know if you have, but it's personal, right? You don't talk about things that go on in AA. So
I'm curious about the structure of like, first we're going to do that. Was there writing involved? Did you have to keep a journal of any kind?
oh my gosh! So the first event that started off where we all sat down, and it was in a retreat center, but it was at a religious retreat center, and it was very nice. And they had 2 chairs, put together. So each couple had their own chair, and then there was space and 2 more chairs, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And so the first thing everybody had to do is take the microphone and say something positive about your partner
into a microphone. How many couples were there?
Probably 15 couples. 15.
And you had to say into a microphone something positive about your partner. Okay.
Yeah. So just look at your partner and say, she's beautiful. She's wicked smart. She's something positive about my partner is this.
Gotcha.
That was the question.
Okay.
And then she or he took the microphone and said the same thing back, and they passed the microphone. It was very easy.
Were there any gay couples there?
No.
All right.
No.
So that's how they started it off.
And that was the only time until the very end of the retreat was the only time you were required to speak publicly. That was it.
Everything else was just between the 2 of you.
Yes, writing in a journal and answering questions, dialoguing and answering questions, and then dialoguing about those questions.
So you might get an assignment, go off for 5 or 10 minutes and write some kind of an essay, so to speak, and then your partner, you would exchange essays, and each of you would read what the other person wrote.
You would read once from the head and then once from the heart. You read it twice, and then you would discuss your answers.
Okay. Now you said once from the head, once from the heart. That must have been something that was presented to you. Okay, we want you to you were told to do that. And what did they say? Why? What was the why? They must have expounded on that a little bit, right?
Well, and they said it's important to, sit across from your partner. So you're almost like your knees are touching, right?
Right. So, while you're reading what she wrote, or while she's reading what you wrote.
Correct. And you read, basically the first reading is just reading it, right? Like, and then the second one is, I don't know if I changed my tone or anything, but I read it a little more deeper, read it a little more,
Did you read it aloud? Were you asked?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You were reading it aloud.
Oh,
yes.
So you hand her
yes,
whatever your writing assignment was, and she reads it aloud.
Yes.
To you, back to you.
Yes.
Hey, stupid.
And so you guys are in a private room in some.
Right.
What kind of rooms did they have for you to do this kind of work in? It wasn't your lodging room, was it?
No. Well, yeah, it was actually. So when we were down in the main room with all the couples, we were together, and you would get a question, and the question would be, okay, and then they would say, okay, I want all the men to stay here, and you have 20 minutes to,
like the Newlywed Game.
And yeah, sort of like that. Bob Eubanks.
Was he there?
And then
okay, so this is
good. The wife goes to your room. So the room was 2 minutes away, 3 minutes away. Right?
Okay,
so same building. And then
so they go to write their thing, and you stay in
the room, the
main hall,
and then the next time she would stay in the room, and I would go up to our lodging, to our room. So we alternated. And then after 20 minutes, I would leave the room and go up to our room together and knock on the door, and she would answer, and we would sit and we would read each other's answers, one from the head, one from the heart, and then we would discuss, we would dialogue about our answers.
And how much time would you have?
We basically each have 10 minutes to discuss. So a total of 20 minutes to talk.
Okay. And I don't want you to get into any details about what you wrote. Can you tell us any of what the assignments were, or would that even be too personal? Because if so, then don't.
A question would be like, this is a real generic, but it would be like, what do you think are your best qualities of your partner? What are your feelings about your current relationship? How do you feel you perform as a communicator? There would be questions like that. Okay. Kind of removing the mask, right? We were talking about everybody has a mask.
Right, there are layers. So
you have a mask. You have a mask.
Right.
You have several masks. Or taking off your mask. Tearing down the shield.
So were the first couple of writing assignments more, say something positive to establish some trust, and then we can start to get to what are some of the difficulties you have with your partner, or did it not?
I don't think difficulties were the.
How would they word something like
but it
that?
was challenges.
Challenges, okay.
Your fears. What are your fears?
Mm.
What are your fears about being with your partner this weekend?
Oh, really?
You know.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That's
Some
good.
of these people.
Well, everything's
some of these
fear-based,
people-
right? Lots of
Well,
things.
yeah,
are
but
fear-based.
some of these people had never. Some of these couples had never been together. They had.
What do you mean, never been
I mean,
together?
I'm sorry.
Never been on a retreat.
They hadn't been together is what I meant to say. They had not been together for months. Some hadn't seen each other for months.
Why? Because they're separated or something like that?
They're divorced.
Oh, and
They're
they're trying to
separated.
work it out?
Yes.
Oh, well,
yeah,
good
they're
for
trying
them.
to salvage. Yeah.
Good for
yeah,
them.
absolutely. So, if you haven't seen your partner in 6 months and things aren't, you're obviously divorced for a reason,
Right.
and now you're gonna share a room for the weekend.
Ooh.
Think about that.
Ooh. Ow. Yeah.
Are you serious?
So the first evening, you kind of get used to this routine a little bit of writing and then sharing and writing and sharing. And then first day, Saturday, just that type of thing all day long.
Yes.
Did they have other exercises like trust circles or trust thing where your
No,
partner's
no.
blindfolded and you lead them around, that
No.
kind of stuff?
No, nothing like that.
Right. It was a lot writing.
It was writing and discussing,
Mhm.
dialoguing and writing, dialogue. And then they have one session at the end of the day. I'm sorry, not quite at the end of the day, but later on Saturday, later in the evening before dinner. And it's called 99. It's called the 90-90, where you write for 90 minutes
Wow.
and then you discuss for 90 minutes. And they give you several questions. It's like 4 or 5 questions, right? And then they go down the list. And I found the exercises to get easier for me, not the content of of what I was writing, but how it was flowing.
You were becoming easier to express yourself and your feelings.
They really stressed, look, don't worry about, your spelling and your punctuation. That's not why
Could
we're
you
here.
read your
As long as-
handwriting?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I think.
And were there surprises?
I wouldn't say surprises, but there were great moments. Great moments. I don't think they were surprises. They were just like, wow, that's how I feel. Or, wow, I didn't know you
okay.
felt that way. Or, I was always afraid to ask you about that. Or, I was afraid to approach you at that time to talk to you about that. Those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thought that was really positive. I really did. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of questions to ask you without revealing specifics. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What was how about this? What was the best moment, as much as you can explain that? And what was the trickiest, most difficult challenge for you during that weekend?
Probably the most difficult challenge is when we started the dialogue, writing down your feelings, reading them, because you had sort of a script. The script would be like, you would pick a word, right?
Like
Something
Mad Libs?
How do you God, I'm trying to give you the right answer
I'm
here.
sorry.
You
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I-
Okay, it's not like Mad
See,
Libs.
this is how you would be in the room if you
This
and I
is
were
why
partners.
this is why I'm a 2-time loser at marriage.
And you and
It was
I,
not like Mad Libs. I'm an idiot. I'm a moron.
if we were partners, we would have to go every weekend to this. If it was you and them, I swear to God, we'd be living there.
Oh man. So the toughest part was
I was getting there.
getting that expressive muscle in shape.
What I was trying to explain is they give you a script, and it's almost like you fill in the words. For example, my feelings are like, no, how should I say this? My feeling is very confident. Okay. And then you would go into, I have a very confident feeling about this weekend. And then it would say, if my confident feeling were a color, what color would it be? If my confident feeling was something in nature, what would that be? If my confident feeling was a movie or a song or an image, what would that be? So you went down that script and you fill in the answer to those feelings,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was confident or excitement or you were scared, you were upset. So you would take that word, that descriptive word, and then you would write your feelings around that word, however, whatever word you were feeling about the question. Does that make sense? Does that make, yeah. So,
Yeah.
my, like,
When they said if it was a song, did you pick any AC/DC songs?
no, but I did pick punk rock. I said punk rock. And I tried to stay away from sports analogies because my partner
good.
is, not, but I
She's
did
not a-
use a few.
God, they're great though.
Well, I
Sports
used one
analogies
about
are great.
confidence.
Life is like a team sport. It really is.
Well, one of my
marriage is like a team sport.
at one point in the encounter, I felt very confident about the process, and I used confidence was my word. I'm feeling really confident about this weekend, right? And then my sports and
At what time during the weekend did you have that feeling? How far into it were you?
Sunday.
Oh,
Sunday.
okay. Sunday
Yeah.
morning was
Yeah.
it towards the end?
Middle of Sunday.
Middle of Sunday. You're like, this has really been good, and it's going good, and it's continued to be
Yes.
good. This has been a good move.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. So the question was, if your confidence was a sport, what would it be? And I said, my confidence would be like Joe Namath when he predicted he was going to win the Super Bowl, and he did.
I know we're going to win.
He was very confident. That was my sports analogy.
And that meant nothing to your wife, right? I mean, pretty much, which is why
Zero.
they probably said avoid sports analogies. She went, who's Joe Namath? Something like that, right?
Similar, yeah. I
Can you say what hers was? Can you say what hers was? Or is that too personal? Don't do something.
no. No.
Did she
I
have
could,
to
but
do a sports analogy?
Oh God, no. You could do
Oh,
an
okay,
image. You
okay.
could do a sports. You could do an animal.
Okay.
You could do something. Anything. A movie.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
I use Rocky. As
Okay.
a movie. I'm fighting and I know I'm going to win and this is going to work out.
That's great.
It's going to
So
happen. Yeah,
what's your
so I use
over
Rocky
when you
for
guys
my-
left at what, 4:00 on Sunday?
Yes.
Were you just like, wow, I feel really close to you right now?
Oh yes, of course. It was time well spent. Absolutely.
Awesome.
It was very structured. Like I said, it was worth it. And we're going back for 9 follow-up sessions starting tomorrow. And
And how long are those sessions? Each Saturday session?
10 to 4.
Holy cow, a whole day.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty huge. So this is that was just kind of the beginning of this.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's plus on top of dialoguing every evening, which we've done all week. And we have to continue. We don't have to, of course, but we will continue.
You're supposed to.
dialogue. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now we can move on to your big hike. You're going on a hike on Sunday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. What are you doing Sunday?
I'm going on a hike, but that's not the big hike. The big hike starts on Tuesday. What happened? Oh, there you are. Had a technical difficulty.
You had a what?
Difficulty. I had a technical difficulty.
One more time. What did you have? A technical difficulty?
Yes, that's
A
what
what?
I had. Yes,
Just for me, one more time.
a technical.
Try it one more time
I can't.
for me.
A technical difficulty. Ugh.
That's good enough. Good enough for me. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You made my night. Probably made my weekend. That was awesome. I really do love that guy and the technical difficulties he has with his mouth. He's off on his backpacking trip, so I'll have another guest next week on the show. Maybe it'll be you. Also, I have to start remembering the business stuff. We're available on all the usual outlets. Most recently, you can find us even on iHeartRadio, believe it or not. We have a Modern Moron podcast page on Facebook, at the Modern Moron Podcast, no spaces. And on Twitter, we're just at the Modern Moron, still no spaces. Why 2 different names? Because I'm a moron and I can't figure any of this shit out. Have a great week, weekend, or day, and thank you for listening.